Will this dish be healthy? That's a great question. Hi, I'm Phil. Welcome to Pretty Good Cooking.
Pretty good.
Tonight on the show, we're going to be revisiting a recipe. That's right. Some of you actually only know me as a guy from Cincinnati who got his wedding band from Kroger. This is another Skyline chili, Cincinnati chili recipe. But this time, we're making it vegan. And I can't wait for the surprise twist at the end. But tonight, what the damn hell? Hey, that's a neighbor walking. That's literally just a neighbor walking. Come on. Tonight, the first step is to put on a new apron. Shut the... Vinny. Hey, Vinny. Good boy. This apron was sent to me by Vintage 86, which is embroidered right here. God damn it, Vinny. This apron was sent to me by Brewster Collin and his wife. Brewster Collin, longtime fan of the show. His wife started a small business of making cool-ass aprons. And this is one of them. Look at it. Don't I look cool? What is incredible to me is that I am not a small man, and this is how the apron came, and it's like it was tailored for me. How did they know? You know what I'm saying? There's a little slot here. You know, I believe that would be for a small thermometer, but for me, I think a chopstick will probably go there. If I could get 2 chopsticks there, oh come on, baby. You know I'd be eating that. I'd be gobbling that ramen. There's another one here. This is for that, most likely it's for that thick thermometer, such as I have here. And then we got dual pockets down here. So, you know, when I'm shamelessly ripping off someone's recipe, I got my phone right there. And then, you know, if I gotta get away real fast, I put my keys right there when I'm running from the writer of that recipe. What a cool apron, Vintage 86. All right, tonight's recipe is mostly based on a recipe supplied by Jimbo. That's right, our farmer friend Jimbo. Jimbo's family, he spent some time growing up in the Cincinnati area, and his family knows the family for Empress chili. And Empress chili claims to be the original Cincinnati chili. That's their claim, according to their website. I'm not a historian, so someone else can check those facts. I wonder if a pin is supposed to go there. Maybe a small collection of toothpicks. But anyways, he sent me this recipe. Jimbo's been getting into that plant-based eating, plant-based food. So this is basically based on his family recipe, but also based on his substitutions. And essentially what we're doing is we're replacing the beef with a combination of lentils and mushrooms. So that makes it veggie friendly, vegan friendly, until the end. All right, the first step tonight after you put on your incredible apron. I definitely have not been drinking gin out of this mug for the last hour. So let's put some gin in it. I've been digging the gin lately. Boom. Okay, I gotta pee. Okay, let's begin. Let's begin actually cooking. We are using a lentil and mushroom blend to substitute for the finely ground beef that you typically find in this dish. So here I have some Crimini mushrooms. Wow, look at this crazy mushroom. Look at that long boy. What Jimbo recommends is using a food processor to grind these fairly finely, or finely fairly. I do not have a food processor, and as some of you may remember, one of my claims in life is that I am the food processor. So here I am processing these mushrooms, which I will chop up fairly finely and finely fairly. This is about 8 ounces of mushrooms, minus 1 mushroom that I used for some ramen the other day. Jimbo said he uses a pound of mushrooms and a pound of lentils. The homie just makes very large batches of everything, so we're gonna walk that back a little bit. I'm gonna scale it down for mere mortals such as John and myself. All right, so now I've got my slices, and now it's time for chopping action. Food processing. Why buy a food processor when you can do this, kids? All right, so here in the classic PGC school of good enough, got my chopped mushies. I'm transferring them to a bowl just for the sake of it being easier for me to move things around in a bowl rather than this big block of wood. And then we will get some oil cooking in a pan. This is just vegetable or canola oil. I don't remember. It says canola, but I think I refilled the bottle. And in this pan, we're just gonna cook these mushies. We can cook them on relatively high heat as long as we keep track of them. And that's gonna be kind of a separate thing from the rest of what we're doing. Okay, one of the only instructions that Jimbo gave me is that the onions in this dish are basically ground into a pulp or blended. So it's time to blend up some onions. And you know, all memeing aside, you're gonna need several halves of an onion, depending on the size of your onions. The recipe calls for 2 large onions. I do not have large onions, I have medium-sized onions. So what we're gonna do is chop and peel these, and we will roughly chop them. At some point I'll clear off the board. I don't know when that point will be. Right now it's all just extra mushroom flavor. Okay, that's 1 onion, 1 medium onion. Blend that bitch into smithereens. And by the way, if you got sensitive eyes, like most people do, this is gonna really f you up. But it's not affecting me right now. I'm sure it'll come eventually. Just based on what we have going so far, you know, like these 2 onions that I roughly chopped might be good. It's kind of a lot of onion, but I might add another half an onion. I try to say half an onion in the most straightforward and monotone and non-referential way possible. Usually it's pretty smooth, I think. Smooth like onion paste. Oh, I'm feeling it. Feeling it in my eye glands. Looks great. Okay, this oil's heated up. Get our mushies going. Mushrooms release a lot of water when you first cook them, but eventually they'll fry out. So we'll just be working this on the side, and we're gonna be cooking down these mushies. You can salt them. That might help release a little bit more liquid faster. All right, pot number 2, medium heat. And we will also add some oil. And after that, we'll add our onion pulp. Totally up to you. You could easily just chop the onions like you would a normal chili. But this will add some breadth and some body to the chili. Doesn't that look nice? I think that looks real nice. Okay. They're sweet onions. That's actually very sweet. Kind of cool. Let's chop some garlic while we're at it. The recipe calls for 1 clove. I'm doubling that because it's my prerogative, as is per usual. Not really worried about offending too many people's culture to this day. And I lived in Cincinnati for many years, so I feel like I've got some claim to this fine cultural dish. I'm sure I'm gonna piss off some vegans at some point, but that's kind of fun. It's out of love. It's out of love. It really is. Look how much it shrank up instantly. Where'd all those mushies go? Okay, let's get our onion pulp going. How cool is that? Kind of cool. These are the most finely minced onions you've ever fried. Okay, now while these are cooking, we can start measuring out spices. And for this, I will reference the recipe somewhat. But basically, I'm gonna get a bowl with those seasonings. And I think I'm gonna eyeball them. Okay, so we're gonna add some cinnamon, about a teaspoon. We're gonna add a little bit of cumin, not too much, even though that's hard for me to hold back on. We will add some chili powder. I'm actually out of normal chili powder. I don't know how that happened. So today I'm using Kashmiri chili powder. I'm gonna use about a tablespoon of that. The Kashmiri is just a super red, but you know, it's ultimately still just a crushed chili, so it should be fairly similar. You will need some allspice, around a teaspoon and a half. You can also add, this is not in Jimbo's recipe, but I have to have it for my Cincinnati chilies, a little cocoa powder. Not a ton, you know, like a teaspoon at most. We will add some bay leaves to the chili. Oh shit, I'm almost out. And some dried red chilies, this will add just a little bit of spiciness. And of course, some salt and pepper. Sure, we'll need to salt it tons at some point. And that's about it for our spice blend today. And we'll just give that a mix like that. It smells good. It smells like chili. Who would have guessed? All right, I'm still cooking the onion pulp. You can see these mushrooms are already frying pretty nicely. My goal is to get these to be fairly crispy bits, and that will be one of the things that mimics the ground beef. Salt our onions for some reason. I've never cooked onion pulp this way, but I feel like it'll bring out some of the flavors by cooking it on its own a little bit. We probably could throw our garlic in at this point. And that's really about it for now. We're just gonna be cooking these down for a little bit, and then we'll add some more stuff. Okay, it's been a little bit of time. We got our onions cooked down a little bit. I'm gonna go ahead and add the seasoning, all that wonderful seasoning. And taking a kind of a method out of Indian cooking, we're gonna let it roast a little bit to open up some of those spices just for a minute or two. I'll tell you right now, it smells pretty damn good. Our mushrooms did not take that long at all to fry up. Check them out. They're like basically little crispy bits. That's what I wanted, so that's great. I'm gonna turn the heat off. Next up, I'm gonna add the tomato paste from 1 can of tomato paste. That's a measurement if you didn't realize it. So briefly roasting all of these things, or sauteing them I guess, on the bottom of your pan without burning them will open up some of these nice flavors. Tell you right now, it smells cinnamon heavy to me, but that's okay. You can go ahead and add your mushies now if you want. And of course you can add more mushrooms if you want. Like I said, Jimbo uses a whole pound. And then we're gonna add lentils. So our lentils will be the main breadth of this sauce. And I have black beluga lentils. So these are expensive lentils. They're like probably 4 or 5 times the price of regular ass lentils because they look cool. But I figured it would be a nice meat substitute because when they cook up, they'll look more like meat. I don't really think they taste that different, but I also haven't tried them, so go ahead and add our lentils. This is 1.5 cups of lentils. Jimbo told me do not use red lentils because they break down into oblivion. Just use regular green lentils or just whole lentils that have not been hulled. Because if you use like split lentils, it'll become mushy and the texture won't be right. All right, next up we're gonna add some vinegar. And actually by doing it this stage, you'll be able to deglaze the bottom a little bit. Basically want just a big splash like that. And you can scrape the bottom of your pan if appropriate. And then we're gonna add some water. Now, how much water are you gonna add? That is a good question. And of course you could use stock instead of water. But essentially, we're gonna have to eyeball the water because I don't know how long these lentils are gonna take to cook. So I'm gonna start by basically just covering up the lentils with that water. And I'm gonna add more water to them as is needed. But you can see, if you look at it right now, and you imagine these black specks are pieces of meat, it kind of looks like Skyline chili. It kind of does. I think that Kashmiri chili powder actually gave it a nice color. So we're gonna cook this. I'm gonna bring it up to a simmer, and basically our goal is gonna be to cook these lentils in the sauce. So I fully expect this is gonna become too thick. The number 2, the thick with 2 C's, just like your mother, everyone's mother, but that's all I'll say. And we'll have to thin it out. You know, we'll have to add more water as this cooks. Well, I'll tell you right now, it smells pretty good. Maybe too much vinegar. I think it'll be fine when it cooks for a while. But yeah, so you can see it was already pretty warm. It's already coming up to a simmer around the sides. Generally speaking, lentils take about 20 or 30 minutes to cook. Depends how fresh they are. And actually, I know it's gonna need more water, so I'm gonna go ahead and add it. Now here's a crazy idea. Why don't we use some water and add that back in? Get some more onions in there. All right, that's it for now. We're just gonna bring this up to a simmer. We'll put the lid on it and we'll let it cook away. I think this is gonna be really tasty. See you soon. I forgot to add the Worcestershire sauce. It says 2 dashes. We'll give it 3 for that extra flavor. Almost forgot. John literally asked me, like, when's that go in? The answer is right now. All right, we'll be back. All right, so I apologize I've not been tracking about how long this has been cooking, but we are making progress. And certainly, if you're familiar with Cincinnati chili, you'll say, hey, this looks familiar. But I have been tasting it as we've been going through. And to me, it's unbalanced. And I think that's because I did not precisely measure things. I definitely think I added too much vinegar. So I am going to add some brown sugar with the idea that it will neutralize a little bit of the acidity. In some Skyline chilies, or I guess Cincinnati chilies, there is some brown sugar or a note of sweetness anyways. So I'm hoping that this will neutralize a little bit of that acid. And also, as you can see, it's become pretty thick without the lentils fully cooking, so I am going to add a little bit more water at this point. Conveniently, I left my tomato spoon in here, so we're going to add some more of that tomato flavor. And I anticipate that I'm going to have to continue tuning the seasoning for this. This really is a dish where you can change some of the components of the spices to get it closer to what you think or what you like in a Cincinnati chili. But I have to say, I am impressed that there is the oily sheen that I see in normal Cincinnati chili, which is kind of funny. I don't feel like I added that much oil, but yet here it is, still looking greasy as hell. That sugar really helped. It's interesting. I kind of think that because we're lacking that beef component, that the rest of the seasoning is probably going to be more pronounced. So, like, one of the major flavors that I'm getting even with all of the flavor that we added, is that tomato. And it just needs something else. Then I'm gonna just add some garlic. It needs a more savory component. It's very good and it's delicious, but just something feels off to me. I'm gonna keep working on it. I like Cincinnati chili with kidney beans in it, so like a 4-way, 5-way kind of thing. If you want to skip these beans, that's fine, but by the way, you just made a big old pot of beans, lentil beans. I'm gonna throw in bean juice and all, because I think that'll add a nice breadth to our sauce. And that's just 1 can of kidney beans. And the lentils are cooking nicely. You can see there's a lot of similarities in this. The old skyline. It tastes good. It's just not quite balanced. I can't figure it out. Guess I'll keep f***ing with it. Just keep throwing sugar in it. Maybe that'll fix it. We're continually messing with this recipe because the seasoning's weird to me. So I'm adding umami powder from mushroom. If you're vegan and you're not familiar with mushroom powder, you should learn about this. It makes things taste way better. This is just like natural MSG basically. So let's get that blended in. Dude, this is looking more and more like Cincinnati chili to the point where you could almost fool someone. Okay, I gotta hand it to John on that suggestion because we have been f***ing around with the seasoning and stuff, and that umami powder made this taste so much better. Dude, that was the missing piece. It wasn't umami enough. Let's add some more. Holy shit, that was it, dude. You unlocked the flavor it needed. Dude, you're gonna try this in a minute and you're gonna be like, MVP John on this episode, to be honest. MVP John. Everyone, thank John in the chat. I mean the comments. That was it? That was it, John. You figured it out. Why don't you host the show? It's time to make the pasta, the spaghetti. We're doing whole wheat today because this is healthy food, LOL. I don't know who made that claim. It wasn't me. Here I am cooking whole wheat spaghetti. Sir, this is a Wendy's. All right, we'll let that cook in this boiling water that we salted. The chili, the lentil chili, it's coming out good. We added a bunch of umami powder, and that really is what it was lacking. And you know, if I added more mushrooms to begin with, that would have not been necessary. But adding the umami made it a lot more balanced with the spice and the sweetness and the sourness that we had going on. So we'll let that cook. Here's the progress on our sauce, our chili. I tell you what, man, that's real f***ing similar. Okay, we'll be back. Our spaghetti is finito. It's cookitoed. Here I go throwing it in the drain. When your pasta's done, just throw it in the sink. All right, this is it. Let's do it. The chili is done and the pain is gone. All right, let's get our spaghetti, whole wheat spaghetti for health. You know, someone somewhere is like, ah yes, I eat whole wheat spaghetti, so I'm a healthy person. Someone believes that. And then we top it with the chili, which is so convincing. If you just like blur your eyes a little bit, don't look too close. It's so similar. Okay, now, vegans, they're still with us. The vegans have been with us the whole time. They probably got clickbaited into watching this. Now look, we top it with some onions. Shit yeah. And there you have vegan Cincinnati chili, or vegan skyline. There it is. Let's take a picture of it. Let's try this crazy food. It's good, but you know what it could use? It needs some motherfucking cheese! That's so much better! Vegans, just use vegan cheese. It's close enough. The cheese is really a critical component for this type of dish. It tastes a lot better with some kind of cheese product, whether it's made from animals or not. I love cheese. I love this dish. And on that note, goodbye! That's how you do it. That's how you do it.